So part of your takedown game is you're gonna have to figure out what controls you like. For me, it's collar ties and wrist controls. You know, so I'm always looking to get here first. If I can get to here, then everything starts to play off of this. Now, when I play this, I do exactly what you're not supposed to do when you wrestle, and that is collar tie off of my front leg. The reason is I do not care if he picks up the single leg. I almost want him to. You know, so, and if he does, I know he's a wrestler. So, right? Jiu-jitsu guys never grab my leg when I do this. It's really funny, but wrestlers will every time because they're like, oh, it's right there. I'm like, yes, it is, right? You know, so we'll start off of this situation where they go for it right off the bat, right? So I get this, and he just shoots down and picks up the single leg, and we're right in here, right? So when we get here, there's a few different things I can play, depending on where I want to go. And a lot of it's going to depend on his head position here. So if his head is low, you know, then I'm going to start getting in here and getting head and arm control. And now I'm just going to break this and break him down. Right? So if he's going to be dumb enough to keep his head low, he's going to give me head control. Like, that's cool. So if he wants to put his head on the outside, we're going to go somewhere else, right? So he's trying to figure out where to go. There we go. This is where he should be, right? Head high, so I can't just guillotine him and get my head and arm control and start to play this game. This is usually what we're going to get to initially, is he's going to get here. When he gets here, I can just slide my left arm right in for an overhook. Like, there's plenty of space right here. With his head on this side, I'm going to guard pull, you know, because this is going to set me up right into my butterfly guard, right into my overhook, so I can play rubber guard, I can sweep, I can do all of that from here. You know, so what is going to determine whether I go to this or the next move is how much he's trying to do something like run the pipe. So you remember how to do that? Step back with your right leg and start to twist to the outside, right? So if he's, you know, if he's really like hellaciously trying to play that game, we're going to switch to something else, and I'll show what we're going to do there, right? But if he just gets up on this single leg, and especially if there's some hesitation here, I grab this overhook and I get a collar tie. Now my goal is to get my left knee outside his hip. Once I have this, it's really hard for him now to even run the pipe and take me down, right? Like this. Because I'm connected to his hip, right? Yeah, it's hard for him to get to my other leg, right? Like I'm just hanging out, right? So I get this collar tie on the far side, and now what I want to do is I want to take him the opposite direction that he wants to spin. So I start leaning into him, and I start going this way. Right? So don't fall. Keep your base as I go down, right? So he gets here, I start leaning, and I sit. And a lot of times I end up right in a butterfly sweep, right? He's gonna base his legs one of two ways. The one way, we go butterfly sweep. The other way, I go right to rubber guard, right? So again, we're here. We got to this spot. He's keeping his head in a good position. I'm just sliding this in. Like, there's no way he can stop that, right? Like, yeah, keep it tight. Right? Yeah, like it's just too easy, right? It's right there every time, you know. So now I get my knee to the outside, my foot on the inside, just like a normal butterfly hook. Now I get my collar tie, I start leaning and hopping this way to get him to turn the way he doesn't want to turn, right? We go this way, not sit, right? If we go straight down, he comes down even, I kick him out and I'm up, right? Right into my rubber guard stuff, and we have all of our finishes. Does that make sense? Right? So the big thing is play with your balance here. You know, get this. Again, if his head's low, I'm coming right over the top, and I'm sprawling back and bringing him down. If he's keeping his head where it should be, right, then I'm collar tying, getting my knee to the outside. So we're hopping, sitting, kicking, wherever we want to go. Make sense? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. So when they get this, you gotta get that connection. Now I can't get that.
Does it work if I push my knee more in that way?
Yeah, it's like a shield keeping the knee away, right?
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so, but you don't want to push so hard that I can back step around, right? You're staying connected more than you're pushing, right? So, yeah, but it makes it hard for them to just step around, you know, because a lot of wrestlers, once they get here, they want to come out to here, right? They want to get to the end of that lever and have more leverage, you know, to start doing things, or they want to step around, you know, or they'll hit that, you know, that run the pipe, right? So, you know, so you want to immediately get that knee to the outside and get that connection. And now when I start going, like, you just keep extending the butterfly hook, right? Makes it a lot harder for me to do the things I'm trying to do. Does that make sense? So really try to get that connection and then worry about all of this. Like I feed that arm in and that goes right in place right at the same time. And then I start fishing around for everything else, right? All right, let's keep going. 3, 2, 1. Once he gets this, I get my knee to the outside, I get my overhook in place, right? And we're here. The other thing some of you are already figuring out is because I can lift up with this and I can push down with my leg, I can just break that grip, right? So this is the cool thing with this spot, is I have the option to do this at any point. I was like, if you're gonna hug me, I'm gonna toss you. You're gonna give me that far elbow? Like, awesome. Right? So yeah, I can stomp and I can make this turn, and if I can get a hold of this elbow, if he wants to grab me, this is perfect, right?
Just letting you go for it.
So yeah, so if we get this, then we're just hitting, you can shoot all the way across for your hip. All you need is this first leg, but if you're gonna get the first leg, like, you have to really commit. So let go of me for a second. So it's one of those that, if you think about it, it's like, you know, it's like all the Marvel movies, the superhero pose. You know, like when I go to hit this, I'm not just going, right? It's right to get him to go, right? Here we go. So once I stop here and I get here, it's that turn to bring him down, right? So if I land here and I don't have that arm, like, my expectation is when I try that, he's gonna base on his hand. So this is where the, you know, what do you do as they start defending these takedowns comes in. So I get him here, right?
Am I on my knee or am I based out?
So,
does it matter?
Well, stand up for me. You do what you think comes natural, right? Right? So now he's in this situation. So if you want to continue the takedown, all I'm going to do is reach across for his elbow and drive into it, right? But realize in this spot that he has one hand on the mat. Anytime he has one hand on the mat, I automatically think triangle. Right? So I can go right to the powder keg, right to a triangle. Because he can't move that hand, you know. He moves the hand, he goes down, right? So once we get here, I can either reach across and drive in, or I can just bring my leg up on his back, and now as I sit to my hip, I throw this up, and we have our triangle, right? So let's play with this. He gets a single leg, we're here, I'm gonna get my hook, my knees to the outside. I'm just lifting up, and I'm stomping down. Right, and we get here. If I have that elbow, I can hit the hip toss. If I don't, I'm expecting when I go for it that he's gonna post. And now you can either hit the takedown or you can powder keg him. Right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. We're gonna rewind a little bit. So he gets the single leg, I get my overhook. But this time, like, he's real aggressive trying to run the pipe here. And so as he's being real aggressive with this, I stump his head and come to the other side. Now that he's on the other side, I'm just gonna reach across and grab my Kimura grip, right? And I keep the leg. Yep. So I'm just gonna come across and go right to my Kimura. My knee stays on the outside initially, Once I have my Kimura, I'm gonna bring it to the near side. And now I sit. Right? He comes around. For here, you can go to the back. I prefer to lift his elbow to flatten it, and then I hunt his elbow with this foot so I can get this side triangle. Right? I prefer to be here. I think this is way harder to get out of than back control. So I like to get to here, and then I have the triangle and Kimura, you know, because he has to decide, does he defend his arm and bring me his elbow to get choked? Or does he defend, you know, the choke and separate his arms? And then now I have the Kimura. And then I just come up and finish. So from the start. Yeah. So he gets the single leg, I get my overhook, get my knee to the outside, we're playing this. He's going, I stuff the head, come across, get my Kimura, bring my knee to the near side. Now I'm just gonna sit and kick. Right? As I come, if I want that side triangle, instead of like pushing his hand to his hip to get him to turn his back, I lift his elbow to keep him flat on his back. And then now as I come through, I hunt that elbow to start, you know, pulling him in. You know, if he's flat like he is here, I'll go ahead and push to get his head raised and come around. But usually like their head's up off the mat a little bit, which allows me to slide right in. And I just lift his elbow, stomp his elbow, open it up, and I have the triangle. Right?
Cool. Doesn't matter my grip either. It's like,
yeah, you can fight the grip all you want. All I got to do is get your elbow.
I know.
You can keep it super tight. Yeah. All I got to do is get my heel inside that elbow. That triangle's mine.
I know.
Right? Let's try it. 3, 2, 1. Control, and I do it with the wrong leg forward, enticing him to grab that leg. Right? But like I said, what I've found in competition is if this guy's a jiu-jitsu guy and not a wrestler, he won't go for that leg. Right? Which is fine too. So if I get this control and I'm here and he's not doing anything about that leg, right, then we're gonna play a different game, right? So,
I don't go for that, right?
So if he's not going for the leg, when we get here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to push him. Because I want to see what he does back. You know, because some people don't like to be pushed and they like to push back really hard. And that's awesome for me because then I'm going to sit and take your leg home. Right? And this is where I get a lot of my fast finishes, is because this guy really wants to push back. And I sit and pull, and we're right into our heel hooks. A lot of times they will roll through, and we finish on the roll through. This is the Sean Applegate, right? So we're pushing, you push back. I toss him, connect, right? I'm pinching immediately down on this leg, right? I'm not looking for this heel right away, because you'll lose control. I'm pinching here to allow this to come over and bite. Once I get this bite and this reap, now I look to grab his heel. Then I get my control. Right? So we're here. So now if he stays here, I can finish. If he tries to roll through to get out, then I finish. Right? I'm already in position. So a lot of times you'll try to reach for that heel right away, and because it's so quick, and especially if you're both sweaty, you'll just miss it. And then now you missed your opportunity, right? So as I sit, I pull him over this shoulder, get my bite and I pinch, right? With that pinch, I can drive in, grab the heel and connect. Now we can finish, or he'll roll, and we finish on the roll through. Right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. A great reap, he can still keep his posture. If that's the case, I'm just gonna switch directions and dump him and come up and grab the heel that way, right? So as I push and he pushes back, I go and I pull and I don't get as good of a bite and he's still fighting this, right? So if he's still fighting this, I'm still putting pressure like I'm reaping, and then I'm just gonna switch. So I'm gonna shoot my hips up and twist out. My goal is to get his knee outside his ankle, so I block his ankle. And I come right up, and now I've got my bite, right? So when I go for this bite, I wanna make sure I pinch the pad of his toes. Now when I land, it's over, right? So I'm just immediately twisting to the outside. As he goes down, I'm coming up. That's what gives me the ability to grab his heel, where I don't have to dig along the mat and do all of that. I don't have to worry about him peeling my foot off of his hip, because all my weight's in my knee driving his hip to the mat. You know, so I catch, fall back, and I finish. Right? So one more time. We're here, he pushes back in. I don't get a good, reap this time. So I'm just blocking, twist, I'm right up. You can grab the heel again, like power heel hook style, and I'm catching the pad of the toes, and then we finish. Right? So I really want to make a big motion. Like, it seems weird like that you would make a big motion to catch that, but in order to catch the pad of his foot and not squish his foot sideways where he can turn to alleviate the pressure, I want to pinch that. So I got to reach up and over and really pinch the pad of his foot, right? Just sit on your butt. So my goal is to get it like this, right? And his foot is at this angle, initially when I come up. So in order to get that, I got to make a big, to get that bite, right? If I just reach back when it's slightly turned and I get here, he can turn, right? Because then I'm pinching the fat part of his foot. And so that allows him to turn it skinny, and now he can heel slip. But if I catch it here, like even if I just hold that, like,
it's too late.
It's such a good grip. Once I add this just blocks the rest of it. Like, my lat's doing all the work just to keep his toes pinched.
You try to push it back in either.
Right? And then we can finish. Right? So I want to really make sure I catch that pad of the foot as I land and finish. But as soon as he's going down, like, I don't wait for him to hit and then I come up. As he's going down, I'm coming up with him. I'm using that momentum to come up, catch it, fall back, and finish. That way, by the time he hits and starts thinking about sitting up to defend, I've already come up, grabbed the heel, and fallen back down. So as he's sitting up to defend, it's already over. So it's already too late. Make sense? Let's try it. 3, 2, 1. And we'll fighting against their reactions, right? So this is one way to play that stand-up game is instead of looking for takedowns, like, I give them controls, making them feel comfortable, and then I use the controls to set up what I want. So it's a different way of kind of looking at it, right? It's like baiting somebody into something. It's like, oh, yeah, I'll leave that arm out there, and when you dive on it, I'm going to reverse it and turn it into something else, or I'm going to let you ninja roll me just because I'm going to flip it and, mid-roll and put you in the truck and attack you instead, right? It's the same kind of thought process. Like, I let you think you're getting something just so I can flip it back in my favor while you're going for what you think you're getting, right? So, it's just a different mentality to the game. So I hope that was beneficial. That helped? And then, if you have, a wrestling game, you have your single legs, double legs, all that stuff, you can play all of that into any of this as well. So it's, you can, like off the first part when we had the single leg, when I get here and I stomp this, right, now I've got my overhook, I can get my underhook, right, start hitting lat drops and tosses and things. You can use it just to, to lift and come under to your single legs, right? Like, there's different options. I can kick this, oops, with other, you know, stuff that you already know, you know, and start playing. Sometimes like you can just stomp and they'll posture up, you know, and you can drop down, you know. So yeah, it's, you can play different games off of it just depending on what you like to do. But sometimes it's one of those things where I like to give people things that where they feel like they've got something and they're comfortable, and then I just start turning it into stuff that I want, you know. So yeah, it makes them feel more comfortable in the position. They're not as worried about what's happening, and then when you flip it, they're getting surprised and now you're on the attack, you know. So just a different way to think about it, right? So cool, let's get a picture.